You want to show the trash can? Okay, there's our students, young people. There's a camera. Okay. Oh, that's nice, right? That's good. Okay.
This camera has a microphone?
It does. What's happening?
It's going live.
What's happening?
It's already live.
Oh, I can't see myself. You can turn it around so I can see what is on the screen. Oh, you switched it off? Okay. Okay, that's good.
You can turn it on music. Yeah, it's there.
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानां आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् सर्ववेदांत सिद्धांत गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविंदं परमानंदं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोस्म्यहम्। So the teaching is about to start. Last time we talked about ko naam bandha, katham eshagatah, katham pratishtha asya, katham vimokshah, ko savanatma paramah ka atma tayor vivekah, katham etat uchyatam. And the next verse was yad bodhavyam tavedanim imam atmana atma vivechanam taduchyate maya samyak shrutva atmani avadhare. And so now we're in verse number 90 of the Vivekachudamani. In our reference text, it is verse 27, and it says, Panchikritebhyo bhutebhyah स्थूलेभ्यः पूर्वकर्मणा समुत्पन्नम् इदं स्थूलं भोगायत् आनमात्मनः भोगयातना अनात्मनः अवस्था जागरस्तस्य स्थूलार्थ अनुभवो यतः स्थूलार्थ अनुभवो यतः. What was that word? Bhog yatanam atmanah. That yatanam confused me. Bhog yatanam atmanah.
The page number.
Page number is 96 in the PDF. So, what is this verse about? Interactive classroom session.
So, answer to this question.
Yeah, so the answer to the question, he asked Atma, Anatma, Vivechanam. So the ability to discriminate between Atma and Anatma. So what is going to be described in the beginning is Anatma. So we're looking at the description of Anatma. We're going to spend a few verses looking at Anatma, and then we'll get to the topic of Atma. When it comes to the topic of Anatma, he says, Panchi kritebhyo bhutebhya. Panchikrita is making fivefold. Panchikritebhyo bhutebhya. What is bhutebhya? It's talking about the five individual elements. So we have to go onto the board. So when we go onto the board here, we'll talk a little bit about Panchikritebhya. What is this Panchikritebhya? So we'll talk about the Mahabhutas. Mahabhutas are what? The primal elements. And what are these primal elements?
Air, water.
Air, water.
Okay, tell me.
Air,
Space,
space,
then
air,
Yeah.
air, then
Water. Earth, fire.
water, then fire, then
earth.
earth. What do you think? Does that make sense to you? Go ahead. It does not make sense. What's not making sense?
Yeah, actually, like Earth can be. I mean, Earth has lots of elements and stuff, so like
Yeah.
everything can be divided
Yeah.
further. So why?
What is the story with these five elements? How is Earth a Mahabhuta? You're asking, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's write the
I
Sanskrit
didn't-
names for them. What is space? Akasha, Vayu,
Jal.
I want a Sanskrit word. Huh? Varuna, Apaha.
Jal is not Sanskrit.
It is, but I was looking for that older word. Looking for an older word. And Prithvi. So you look at these and you say, what? What happened here? How are these the Mahabhutas?
Yeah.
Right, and of course we're talking about the Panchikritebhya.
Professor, what does Panchayat?
I'll talk about all of it. So that's our subject matter, so to speak. So let's take a little bit of this. I can see, I can touch, I can taste, I can smell, and I can feel. Is that okay? All my senses are activated. All five are possible for me. I can see it, I can touch it, I can taste it. Not recommended, but okay if you want to. I can feel it, I can smell it.
Here.
Yeah, I can hear it too. Fair enough. What else can I do to? So what about Agni?
I can see it.
Okay.
I can. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we cannot really. I mean,
Taste
can
is
we
the one.
touch, like putting your hand in fire?
Yeah, and you can definitely hear it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You can definitely feel it. The heat is definitely there.
Yeah.
So feel and touch are the same. Maybe I should eliminate one.
Yeah.
Okay. So see, taste, smell, feel, and hear. Can I see, hear? I can feel it. Tasting, not so much.
We never tried.
We never tried it. What else is smell? Not really. Okay. Apaha, I can definitely see it. I can definitely taste it.
Professor, smell maybe makes sense.
Because
Yeah, when the fire is burning.
You can smell it too. Okay. This one I can see, I can taste, I can definitely feel it. Yeah. Vayu, I can see it. I can feel it. Maybe I should say that I can hear it.
Yeah, so water also here.
Water I can also
Yeah,
hear,
yeah.
definitely. Right. What else is going on? But when I get to Akasha, what is happening here? This is kind of hard. All I can do is hear it.
Here?
Sound, it travels. The traveling of sound is the only thing that is giving me the sense of space. If you take away all my senses, I will be able to tell you that person is closer and that person is farther away from me. The sensation of space is connected to the sensation of. So what, and this is a rudimentary model. What they're trying to do is, as you're going from one element to the next element, more and more of your senses are becoming activated. And that's really what it's about, is how many senses are getting activated in these Mahabhutas. So what are the senses that I have? I have the sense of vision, I have the sense of sound, I have the sense of taste, I have the sense of smell, and I have the sense of feel or touch. These are the senses that I am blessed with. And each of these senses is directly connected to a particular sensor. So for example, eyes, ears, I have taste, say tongue or mouth, I have a nose, and I have a skin and the sensation of touch. Skin. Does that make sense? So the way the ancient rishis saw the world was using the sensors. What they were saying was they didn't have access to microscopes or telescopes and so on. And they were also not using artificial sensors. They were just using their natural sensors, their natural body, and their natural body was blessing them with 5 senses. And because there were 5 senses, they ended up with a model that consists of 5 Mahabhutas. And that's how it came about. And these 5 Mahabhutas, of course, they have their Sat, they have their Sattva gunas, they have their Rajo guna aspects, and they have their Tamo guna aspects. Now, again, compounding by adding more terms, the Sattva guna, the Rajo guna, and the Tamo guna. We'll talk about the gunas a little bit later as well. But within the context, you sort of know what Tamo gunas are, what Rajo gunas are. So the Tama aspect of the Pancha Mahabhutas combine in a specific way in order to make the actual Sthula Bhutas. What that means is that you take 1/2 of Prithvi and you combine it with 1/4 of the other 4 elements, 1/8. Right?
Yeah.
difficult to do math on the board when you're looking at it, right? You combine it with the other 4 to get the sthula Prithvi that we are talking about. So this answers your original question, but Prithvi is so mixed up, it has all the elements in it, because it does. In their vision of the sthula Prithvi, half of the Tama aspect of the Mahabhuta, that is Prithvi, was present. And then 1/8 of Akasha, 1/8 of Vayu, 1/8 of Apaha, 1/8 of Agni. That's what makes up Sthula Prithvi. And the process is Panchikrite Bhedi, combination of these in order to make the Sthula Prithvi. Similarly, when you talk about fire, the fire that we see, the fire that we talk about, Agni, it is 1/2 of the Tama aspect of the Mahabhuta, that is Agni, combined with 1/8 of the other 4 in order to make what we call the Sthula Agni.
So what do we mean by sthul here?
Stool is the one that you are physically, so we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So the one that you are actually interacting with in the waking world, the one that you are interacting with, that is Stula. So where did this model originate from? Again, this model originated from a rudimentary understanding
On the limitations of our senses.
Limitation of our sensors. So human beings are blessed. If you're sitting on an island and you have no additional sensors, you're blessed with 5. You can always do those 5 things. And you're sitting there and you're making a model of the world. This world that you can interact with only these 5 sensors. So you said, okay, if I am being able to interact with the world with these sensors, then I understand that there must be 5 Mahabhutas that originally look like this. They activate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of my sensors. And these Mahabhutas, I have combined the Tama aspect of them. I've left alone the Sattva aspect and the Raja aspect. That will come later. I combined the Tama aspect of them in a specific proportion in order to. What do you call this? This whole thing that we've just talked about. What would you call it? Oh, you would call it modeling. I made a model. I made the most rudimentary, the simplest model. It's complicated enough that it represents something. It's not so simple that I can completely ignore it. At the same time, it's not complex enough to be able to capture some of the nuances of the physical universe. But it is what it is. It is a model that they had built.
It seems like the addition operator works just fine. So we can see that here these things are coupled, as we move along.
Yeah.
So can we subtract things as well, like Vayu minus Akash?
So in the Sthula world, you can. When we get to the Sukshma world, we'll talk a little bit about the Raja aspect. We'll talk about the Sattva
These are
aspect.
So these are independent of each other.
They are. So the Panch Mahabhutas are independent of each other, but when you look at them in the Sthul world, they have Panchikrita. They have been mixed in together in order to make the Sthul components that we are actually seeing. So that's the model. Is the model perfect? Far from it. Does it do what it is supposed to? Yeah, okay. What is the purpose of any model? I gotta ask that question.
Yeah.
Well, the question came first, right? The model was built only to answer the question. There was no reason for us to build the model with the exception that I wanted to answer a question. So what was the question? The question was, what is this Sthula world made up of? And what the teacher is saying is that this Sthula world is made up of matter. And that matter, I've decomposed it into matter that can be recognized independently by your 5 sensors. And then I've come up with some process that allows me to be able to say, hence, this is the world that we're talking of. At some point in time, people used to think that the human body is full of blood. Because when you cut it, blood comes out. It's full of blood in a very complicated way. So very nuanced how the blood flows around the human body. And you can have a very complex blood circulation model in order to explain how it works. That's not what the subject matter is here. The subject matter is, the student asked the question, what is anatta? He said, first, let's talk a little bit about matter. Let's talk about that which you can physically see. And that is represented by the word sthula. Sthula has a physical representation. It is something that I will come across in the waking world is the physical representation of the word sthula. So what does the verse say? It says, Panchikritebhyo bhutebhyah bhutebhyah panchikritebhyo sthulebhyah. That's what the sthula sharir is. Samutpannam. It has been born out of the sthula representation of the Mahabhutas. What is born out of this is the physical body. So it's telling you that your physical body is born out of the sthula component of the Mahabhutas. That's what it's saying, that it is made up of matter. But then he continues and he says, Samutpannam idam sthula. It has been, Samutpannam means well made. It has been properly manufactured from those elements. Purva karmana bhogayatanam atmana. It is born out of purva karmana, is prior action. So different things have been combined here, right? First there was the model of the elements, and then it throws in the word purva karmana. Because you'll say, okay, so if the sthula sharira is samutpannam from these major elements, from these fundamental mahabhutas, all the bodies should be the same. Why are they different? Why does one body look different from the other body? Why is one body born with a particular defect and the other is not? So he says, well, they're generated based on purva karma. Whatever is the sanchita karma, and we've talked about this before, and we can talk about it again. It's a long discussion, but it talks about purva karma, actions that have been done in the past by the specific jiva that have led to this particular point. Remember, we talked about the fact that, so this is a very nice model. We'll keep it aside for a second. Now talk about the fact that whenever you do karma, whenever an action is performed, that action can lead to a seen result, drishtaphalam, and it will lead to a adrishtaphalam, an unknown or unseen result that has not yet been fully actualized. There is an immediate result, and then there is an unseen result that will show up in the future. All of these adrishtaphalams are collected in the sanchit karma phala associated with the specific jiva, and this sanchit karma phala is providing some portion of it is always being collected as you live, and what is being generated out of it is referred to as the prarabdha karma phala. The prarabdha karma phala is the, you could say, the portion of that sanchit karma phala, that unseen result that has now fructified. That prarabdha karma phala is what is leading you to the situation that you're talking about. So when you perform an action, there is an immediate result, and the circumstances associated with that action have been contributed to by the prarabdha karma phala, which is maturing right now. So so there's a whole model of karma itself, and there are different types of karma. There is laukika karma, which means worldly action that definitely produces a result that belongs to this world. There is alaukika karma, or you could say there is a agami karma, which is the work that is being performed right now, and then there is a Vedic karma. So I have a whole presentation on this that sort of identifies it. Action that you're doing right now is referred to as agami karma. Agami karma can be Vedic karma or Laukik karma. Laukik karma is work done in the world, and Vedic karma is work done as required by the Vedas, when ritual being performed and yajna being performed. Both of them will produce result. Some seen, some unseen. The seen result is available right away. The unseen result goes and adds to the sanchit karma. And from there, the sanchit karma phala, a small portion is fructified and made available at the current instant, which is the prarabdha. Of course, this is not a law of karma. This is a doctrine of karma, because none of this can be proven. This is a model to represent when you ask a question, so what is it that led to this particular circumstance? you ask the question, then the teacher will say, okay, it's your prarabdha karma phala that has fructified to this particular result. And we'll always say that no matter what your prarabdha karma phala is, you always have the opportunity to perform agami, the action that you do in the current state of events. And that will produce a drashta phala, and it will produce an adrashta phala. I made, once I taught this, and I was explaining this to, I was telling that I wish there was a picture I could make. And the picture I would make would be a big mountain of karma phala, sanchit karma phala, on which an individual is sitting. And as they're performing karma, the karma represented with the yajna, as they're performing karma, that the smoke from that karma phala is going up and it's raining back down on him. The drishta karma phalam is the smoke that's rising up, and the adrishta karma phalam is the rain that is coming down. It's all adding on to the mountain of this sanchit karma phala. And sitting right next to it is the other jiva, because some of this work is being done together, 2 people doing it, sometimes it's a whole community doing it, sometimes it's a whole country doing it. So there is a samuhik sanchit karma phala. So I was talking about this, and my wife decided to paint it. So she made a very nice painting of it. It was in the temple for a little while. I don't know, I can't find it anymore, but some other day I'll find it, or I'll request her to make another one. It's a nice painting that illustrates what we're talking about. So why are we talking about this? Because he said, yes, there is the physical aspect of the creation, but the final result is also impacted by the purva karmana of the jiva. Samutpannam idam sthulam. And that's why he says, Samutpannam idam sthulam, bhogayatmanam. And then the most important part of it is bhoga yatana atmanaha, for the jiva. In order to, what is bhoga? I guess that's a good word, right? What is bhoga? Bhoga is to consume. What does the sense do? The sense gets stimulation. That's by definition, the definition of a sensor is that it will respond to stimuli. It will say, yes, I saw a signal and it caused me to go up, and hence I will respond. That's what sensors do. And bhoga yatanam is how I respond to the sensor. So when my sensor goes up, I say, yeah, that was a good. And if my sensor goes down, I say, that was a negative experience.
Is it like, how do we process the information?
How you respond to the positive and the negative response that the sensor is reporting to you is the bhoga yatana. For you to be able to have a bhoga, the sensor has to work, and the sensor has to work according to how the sensor was created and your purva karma. So he's saying that the jiva is born out of this purva karma for the purpose of bhoga yatana. Bhoga yatana of what? Well, do you remember that mountain of sanchit karma phala that the jiva is sitting on? Who is it going to go to? Somebody has to collect all of that sanchit karma phala that has collected over time, and the jiva continues. In this model, the jiva continues, and also connects it to the model of reincarnation or the doctrine of reincarnation. It says, there's so much left. Who's going to deal with that? Nobody wants your karma phala. You did it. You take care of it. He says, okay, so not this life, one more. One more appropriate body to face the appropriate karma phala generated by the karmas that have been conducted by the jiva in accordance with their ragas and dveshas. Very loaded verse in this one to be talking about. So this is the first verse. It says, Panchikritebhyo bhutebhya sthulebhya purva karmana samutpannam idam sthulam bhogayatanam atmanaha. And then he continues and says, Avastha jagrastasya sthulartha anubhava yata. I'll go back there, so don't move it. Avastha jagrat. The last thing that needs to be talked about is avastha. I'm going to have to erase a few things here. There's too much going on this board now. You let me know and I'll write out a few things. Summarize, so to speak. Because a lot of models were referenced in this one particular verse. one of the models that was represented or used in this was the model of the Mahabhutas. The Mahabhutas and the Panchikritam leading to the Sthula elements. Then another model that was referred to was Karma, which talks about Purva Karmana and the associated results that are leading to the situation that we are talking about. The next thing that was talked about was Bhogyana. That was the other big topic. In order to have Bhogyana, you need the appropriate Sharira, or the appropriate Sthula Sharira, to be more specific. This is in order to experience. Experience what? Experience that Sanchit Karma Phala results for which you need the Sthula Sharira. And the last is Avastha Jagrit. It's telling you something about the jiva. It's saying that when the jiva is awake, they are going to be in the physical realm and the physical world. And in order to experience this physical world, which is made up of the same physical world is made up of the same sthula elements that the jiva's sharira is made up of, in order to be able to experience the jagat. The sthula jagat, in order to experience that, the jiva needs a sthula sharira, which is being created by the elements and the purva karmana and the doctrine of reincarnation combined. Very loaded verse to cover a lot of topics. But it sort of makes sense on how the author is going about establishing everything. There is karma and there is punarjanma.
When we combine that karma and punarjanma, that is samsara.
Yes, samsara.
So is it a parallel, like a human to, or is it, it can be like human one time and animal another time?
That's a very good question. The question is actually deep. The question says, when I combine the law of karma and I combine the understanding of punarjanma, am I always going to have a human birth or not? And the answer to that is actually interesting. It's got to do with the Sanchit Karma Phalas. Some Sanchit Karma Phalas can only be experienced in a different Sthula Sharira. They cannot be experienced in a human Sthula Sharira. And so Ishvara says, yes, there are a lot of yonis in which you can travel, depending upon what the Purva Karmana is, because that Purva Karmana is going to drive the person to have an appropriate Sthula Sharira that allows them to experience the appropriate part of the Sthula Jagat that their karmas have to.
Like sensors would be different in different species.
They have to be, yes, absolutely. The sensor of a shrimp that lives in deep sea, where there is no sunlight that has ever reached, it's going to be very different than the sensors of another jiva. Remember, it's a model. It's a simple model. It's not a complex model. It cannot tell you the details and the inner workings and whatnot of the other, but it's providing you with a vision of what this Sthula Jagat is. And why does it wish to do that? It wishes to do that because in none of this did it ever tell you that you are the body. It actually told you that there is a body. And the body is made up of sensors. And those sensors are excited by the Mahabhutas, their Tama portions. And those same Mahabhutas have combined to make the Jagat, which the Jiva can experience in their Jagrita Avastha. It's a model that represents the physical reality as we understand. It says this is the physical reality, but it did not say you are that. It says this is the physical reality of the physical universe.
Every model has the limitation per se, but what would be one of the limitations? Let's say a human because of part of the karma, they become a mosquito. So what all it can do is to suck the blood and transmit the disease.
Yes.
So how it can go back?
Yes, so that's another good question.
Yeah.
So there are some shariras in which, or some, you could say some sthula shariras or some janmas in which you can do agami karma, an agami karma that is credited to you. For every action, there is a sanchit karma phal, the drishta phalam and an adrishta phalam. And of course, the karmas that are driven by the body, the jiva is not choosing to do them. It's not a choice that the mosquito makes. That guy looks like a nice guy. I'm gonna bite him. That guy looks like a sweet apple. That guy looks like a khatta apple. I don't want to buy it. It's driven. In that life, there is no free will. There is no choice that the individual can make. And that's why I said this mountain of sanchit karma phala. Some part of it, some prarabdha of it generated that body. That prarabdha is finished. Some other sanchit karma phala will mature, and you don't know which one. It's impossible to predict which one is going to mature. It depends upon the circumstances of the jiva. There is a famous question: why do good things happen to bad people, and why do bad things happen to good people? There is no sensitive answer to that question. There is no sensitive answer to that question. When that question is posed, there is no logical answer that can be given that is sensitive enough. What can be acknowledged is, yes, we do not know. We do not know. But if that question is posed out of the context, and it has been posed in a general format, not when you're in the situation and you ask it, I cannot give you an answer that will give you any sample. I cannot reassure you when you are in the situation. I cannot make you feel better in that situation. It's like a person who's drowning and I'm telling them swim. It's useless to the person who's drowning. Either I can jump in and save them, or I can throw them a tire. But me telling them to swim is not going to help. So when the person is in the situation and they ask you, why do good things happen, there's nothing you can do. You can help them. You can do whatever you can to help them. But if this discussion is had in a more generic context, where you're not in the situation, then the model of karma will stand in to say, this is what the ancient rishis created, was a model to help you answer or appreciate the question, how can bad things happen to good people and how can good things happen to bad people? You can attribute it to luck, which is just another word, because nobody knows what is the content of the word luck. Or you can attribute it to 1,000 different other words. What the ancient rishi says, it will give you a doctrine, which is self-consistent. It's the doctrine of karma. It cannot be proven. By definition, otherwise it would be the law. That's why it's a doctrine. It's a matter of belief. You can use this doctrine as a stick to stand up when you have fallen down. But once you have stood up, you won't need the stick anymore. It's there as a stick to help you stand up when you're having a very difficult time appreciating or being able to explain anything. It gives you a crutch for you to be able to stand up and say, okay, this is how I understand it. Once you've stood up, you won't need the crutch anymore. It'll be something that stays in the back of your mind. But it's a doctrine that can help you appreciate the vision or the depth with which Ishvara has created the universe, because it says that any time the jiva, in a human jiva, will always have the choice to act. There will always be a choice. There will always be a choice. And that choice, what you do with it, becomes your agami karma.
And that is only possible when you have free will.
Yes.
Choice.
For the human, yes.
For the human. But
yes.
No other form. If we get into a mosquito or something.
Absolutely. Neither is it in the form of if you have taken birth as a celestial object.
Mm.
The sun has no free will.
Mm.
The sun cannot say, tomorrow I will not shine. It's a deva. Neither the deva nor the jantu has that free will. That free will is for the Manushya Jivan, and that's why it's referred to as Durlabha. Manushya Jivan is Durlabha. It's not easy to obtain, because here you have the opportunity to choose. The devas do not. The laws of Ishvara will bind them to do what exactly that they need to do. That's what a deva is. It's a law. It's an intelligent law that will every time give the same result.
So given that context, if we look into the Bhagavad Gita, it says Sarvadharman Parityaja and Mamekam Saranam Vraja. Then he takes Ahamto Sarva Papebhyo Mokshesham Marjaha. How do we now, when we are discussing karma and samsara, can we interpret
It's
that?
a fair question, and it's the last verse of the Gita, so it really does come at the end of it. When Ishvara is referring to Sarva Dharman Parityaja, he means something by the word dharma in there. It has context related to Mamam Ekam Sharanam Vrata. What he means by the word Mamam is very important. What does he mean by the word Mamam? Because I cannot find him. How am I going to even Sharanam? Ishvara says, no, if you understand Mamam, you will understand what Mamam Sharanam Vrata means. Because Mamam in this case is going to mean the knowledge of Atma. Ishvara is saying, I am that Parama Atma that you are after. But in order to get there, you have to go through Anatma to figure out what exactly are. Ishvara says, if you, Mama Mekam, if only me, and then we talk about this in the Gita class in more detail, but he says, this Mamam represents Atma, that Paramaha Atma, that is the subject matter of the Vivekachudamani and the subject matter of the Gita for that. Ishvara says, if you come to me, if you understand this Atma, the concept of Papebhya will disappear. It will fall apart. The construct of the doctrine of karma will fall apart in front of you. The construct of the doctrine of reincarnation will fall apart. It will no longer be applicable because you'll understand that it applies always to the jiva. It never applied to the Atma. And that's why Atma Anatma Viveka is the subject matter. We think that the concept of karma and the concept of reincarnation applies to Atma. And Ishvara is here to say, oh, no, they apply to Anatma. You are not that. You are actually Atma, to which none of these doctrines will. That is why moksha is possible. Otherwise, moksha would become impossible. You see, for the physical body, there is no freedom. It is bound by the cycle of life. For the mental body, there will be no freedom. It will be bound by its own laws. But the one in whose presence they all have their existence was never bound by any of those laws. And that's why moksha is actually even possible for a jivan mukta, for somebody who's living. Because moksha is an understanding. An incorrect conclusion was made about Atma. It was superimposed upon Anatma, and it was understood that Anatma is Atma. And so we are for the first time discriminating it. Just like the saying goes that the swan can drink the milk from the water. So we have to go in there and understand what is Anatma. Once we understand what is Anatma, what will be left and what we'll realize is that everything else is, what we'll realize is what is the true nature of Atma. And it won't be any different, but we'll get there one step at a time. So this was the explanation of the waking body or the waking Jagat. And there'll be more verses on this topic. Let me just see if there are any more elements in this verse.
Like, does this these Panch Mahabhutas have any relation to Antakarna?
Yeah, so there's Rajo aspects will combine to create the subtle elements. So the subtle element of water will be associated with the subtle portion of the mind. So all of that is coming. So right now we looked at the Tama portion, then combining to create the physical body.
So for the Tama portion, there are like 5 senses, but the Antakarna is like the Rajo sensor.
The portion, so Sattva, Raja, and Tama portions of the same Mahabhutas. The original 5 Mahabhutas do not have physical form. They are subtle, but they have Sattva, Rama, and Tajo, and Sattva, Rajas, and Tama portions of them.
So what is the domain of Antakarna? Like,
what is the, so it's the next verse. We're going to, the Sukshma Sharira is going to be the Antakarna. So the Antakarna and the Sukshma Sharira will be completely aligned. That's what we are going to find. It says, Avastha Jagras Tasya Sthulartha Anubhava Yatah. The waking state is that in which he experiences the objects of the physical world. That's it. That was the whole model. The Mahabhutas, their Panchikritam leading to the Sthula Sharira and the Sthula Jagat, both the Jiva's body being generated by Purva Karmana and the doctrine of karma combined with the doctrine of Punarjanma. The results that are accumulating to them, for that Bhoga Yatnam, the Sthula Sharira is created. A lot of information rolled into one verse.
So there is a Jivatma is brought an Atma, and there is a Stulakaya. In other words, Stulakaya and Sukshmakaya and Karanakaya. Is that when we say Jivatma, are we combining Stulakaya and Sukshmakaya as a Jivatma, and then Karanakaya as Atma?
No, Karanakaya is also part of the Jiva.
Jiva.
Because we in previous classes I have explained to them, Karana Sharira is complicated to understand. It's probably the hardest, the most subtle of them all. But I would say that the easiest way to understand is it's the DNA. The Karana Sharira means that once you have that Karana Sharira, what will come out of it will be exactly the same body. So the Karana Sharira of an apple will always produce an apple. It will never produce an orange. So Karana Sharira, the best way for me to be able to appreciate it is the law that has been programmed inside the DNA of that particular Sharira. What it will generate. It is unseen. It is not vyakta. It is definitely avyakta. It doesn't. You cannot find it in its form. But every time you plant it, it will give out the same. It will give the same flower. It will give the same fruit. Inside that seed, the seed is the physical seed. The sthula seed is the one that I'm holding in my hand. There is a sukshma seed inside of it, and then there is a karana seed inside of it. The karana seed is the original programming. It will never ever become vyakta. I will never say, okay, here's the programming, I see it right there. But every time I plant that seed, the reason why it will generate the same apple tree is because programming it is the karana sharira of an apple. So it's the DNA that is hidden inside it. And what is it? So I use the word DNA. What is DNA? DNA is an intelligence. It's an intelligently put together program that is written nowhere, expressed nowhere, right? I can make a model of a DNA and I can write it on a piece of paper. Where is it written inside? There is no physical matter on which it is written. It is just an intelligent law that is programmed on who knows what kind of physical matter in order for it to take shape. I would say that the best way to express it is its intelligence and its rawest form that has been programmed in there. So where does it reside? If it is intelligence, where does it reside? And the thing is, intelligence can only ever reside in consciousness. Sitting behind the Karana Sharira is the one in whose presence that Karana Sharira will every time produce that same solution. There it comes. Every time you plant it, there it comes. It will never change. Because inside that Karana Sharira, in that causal state, we call it causal state, right? The primordial state, which means that it's just one subtle law that says every time you plant it, you'll get the same result.
But when the mountain is dictating what form, then there is a constantly there is a deviation, all right, because karma will determine what form you are going to be born. So there is there a need for the consistency?
Is there a need for the consistency?
Because given that karma is going to be different next time. So what is the need for the consistency?
Well, so we are looking at our own knowledge of the physical universe. I am not sure that this is the only physical universe. I am not sure that the jiva is bound to this physical universe or this realm of experience. There may be sanchit karma phalas that can only be experienced in a different kind of sthula sharira that is not even possible on this prithvi, which will necessitate the need for me to postulate other lokas, where the jiva can have other physical bodies that will allow them to experience other karma phalas that may have been generated in a different. That's why all the lokas and all the, this loka and that loka that have been posited with no evidence whatsoever, because remember, it's a model, it's a construct. Because as long as the jiva is identifying with the sthula sharira, sukshma sharira, karana sharira, this construct will hold. As soon as the jiva starts investigating what is truly an atma and what is the true nature of atma, this will all start disappearing in front of their eyes. Because it will become an object. And the seer of the object is not the object. The one in whose presence that object has taken form. So I'll give you an example that you'll immediately understand. Can I talk about something that you will never be able to objectify? I'm going to talk about something that will never ever become an object of your intellect.
Four-dimensional object.
It will never become an object. And what am I saying? Right? If I say this is something that you'll never ever grasp, then it becomes nothing. It is of no use to me. It is of no consequence to me, so to speak. So for me to be able to appreciate something, it has to appear in my intellect as an object. And the funny thing is, everything appears in my intellect as an object, including my intellect itself is an object in front of me. And all this world of objects, whether they are in the physical world, they are in the mental sphere, or whether they are in the world of DNA, the causal state, they are all pervaded by intelligence. And that intelligence is resting upon Atma or consciousness. Without that consciousness, that intelligence cannot take form. It doesn't even have the substratum of intelligence every time will turn around to the same consciousness. The same consciousness that is present in the mosquito, the same consciousness that was present in the jiva when he was alive, and the same consciousness that is pervading the sthula sharira of the jiva when they are not there. That Atma will be the same. That existence will be the same. That does not change. Satchidananda Atma does not change. Everything else comes and goes as it, according to the doctrines and the laws of nature.
So in a sense, what we have is Sthula Sarira, Sukshma Sarira, and also Karma Sarira. You are saying that they are not Atma. When we differentiate Atma versus Paramatma, then what is that difference? If the Karma Sarira is not the Atma that interacts with Paramatma, then what is the Atma and what is Paramatma?
Fair question. Perhaps I can explain what is the difference between Atma and Ishvara, rather than the difference between Atma and Paramatma. Because in this context, the way we are talking about it, Paramaha Atma is Atma. Because Atma without any attributes, without any qualifications, without any limiting adjectives, is the true nature of the self. In fact, the word Paramaha is describing, so to speak, Atma. It's not another noun that has been added to it to distinguish it from Atma. So you could say that Parama Atma is different from Atma because Parama is an adjective that has somehow modified it. But the thing is, if Atma is attributeless existence, consciousness, and infinity, you cannot put another adjective in front of it. That adjective would have no meaning because it's already attributeless. How can you place an adjective on an attributeless one? So Paramaha Atma would be the same. But this is not something, the essence of your question was not this. The essence of your question was, what is the difference between Ishvara and Atma? That we can talk about. Because the Jagat is the Sthula Sharira of Ishvara. Hiranyagarbha is the Sukshma Sharira of Ishvara. And Hiranyagarbha. So Ishvara is the entire universe. That has its current state, and the Jagat in its previous state. The laws of the Jagat represent Ishvara's current Sharira. So even there, the Sthula Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira, the Karana Sharira are pervaded equally, and they have their essence in the presence of Atma. So when Ishvara says, Mamam ekam sharanam praja, he is not referring to his Sthula Sharira, he is not referring to his Sukshma Sharira, he is not referring to his Karana Sharira. He says, Mamam ekam sharanam praja, understand me to be that Brahman that has pervaded this universe, has pervaded you, and is the same as the essence of you and the essence of me. When you get there, the word papebhya will be meaningless. How am I going to save you from something that does not even exist anymore? You will have dropped it a long time back. Aham ekam sarvebhyo papebhyo mokshayasi. Aham, the same aham, that is you and that is me. Because then we would have understood what Atma truly is. So this is important. The point you've raised is very important because there is the Sthula Sharira part of it, and then there is the Sthula Jagat part of it. The Sthula Jagat represents sort of the physical body of Ishvara, the whole. Just like I am not the Sthula Sharira, Ishvara is not limited to the Sthula Sharira. Just like I am not limited to my mind and my intellect, Ishvara is not limited to the laws of the universe. Just like I am not limited to my Karana Sharira, Ishvara is not limited to his Karana Sharira. At the essence, Atma is the same. Because Atma is that attributeless consciousness in whose presence these have existence of their.
So that limitlessness, what you are saying at the level of Karma Sarira, so we just recognize that when you sow the apple seed that is limited to producing only
So
apple.
Karan Sharira is limited. You're very right, yes. It's not limitless.
Yeah.
Karan Sharira is limited. In fact, its existence is limitation.
Yeah.
The Karan Sharira can produce only the same Sthula Sharira that it has been programmed to produce. It cannot produce another Sthula Sharira. It's bound by its laws. And hence, it cannot be Atma. This Karana Sharira, they say, and the verses that are coming will talk about it. The best way to understand it is in the state of deep sleep. Jagrat Avastha is my Sthula Sharira. My dream state is where my Sukshma Sharira is really active. I can really understand, yeah, this is my Sukshma Sharira. Because I am dreaming. In my dream, I have no size. I have no time. I can be timeless. I can be young. I can be old. I can be short. I can be tall. I can be a mountain for all I care. I could be any random combination of sensors that I want it to be. Because it's my Sukshma Sharira. I'm not bound. I'm only bound by its constraints, so to speak. The best way to understand the Sthula Sharira is in this physical universe. The best way to understand the Sukshma Sharira is to appreciate your form when you are in the dreaming state. The best way to understand the Karana Sharira is when you are in the state of deep sleep. I have no experience when I'm in a state of, the experience is zero because the mind is resolved, it's gone, and the mind is everything. Any object that makes an appearance in my mind. My mind is only gone, what is left? When I wake up, I'll say, yeah, I enjoyed my sleep, that was pretty good. Where did you go? Well, then the mind was resolved, the body was still here. What do you mean by where did I go? What was present in the state of deep sleep was you in the Jivatma state. Because when I wake you up, you'll be the same guy that went to sleep. That DNA will always re-express in the form of human being. There's a human being that is sleeping. I wake him, he'll be a human being. He will not change when he wakes up. He will continue to remain a human being. Expressed in that Jivatma is the coded Karana Sharira. Best obtained when they are deep sleep. Why? Because everything else has shut down, but the DNA is completely active. The person is there, 100% there.
So there is a reason for the existence in most cases. So when in the deep sleep, when Karana Sharira is active, what is that? When we go through that every day.
Yeah.
So what is the benefit of that sleep that Karana Sharira experiences?
The benefit is actually not for the Karana Sharira. So the way to best understand this is that they're like the layers of an onion. One subsists in all the three states. So Karana Sharira is present in all the three states. The Sukshma Sharira is present in both the states where you are in the Jagrata Avastha and the state of dreams. And the Sthula Sharira is present only in the waking state. You're not accessing the Sthula Sharira when you are in your dream state. So it's a level. The Karana Sharira is present in all three. The Sukshma is present in two. The Sthula is present in only one. The person who benefits from that regeneration cycle is actually the Sukshma Sharira. And the Sthula Sharira are the ones. Because the body takes care of its functions, right? The body is programmed to take care of its functions. The mind is programmed to shut down and relax. So it goes through a regenerative cycle for the Sukshma Sharira and the Sthula Sharira. And the Karana Sharira is the DNA that is programmed to do all of that. It doesn't need the rest. It's the Sukshma and the Sthula Sharira that need the rest.
So in terms of experiencing that an awareness of our Vivekam is at the level of Karana Sharira that can recognize and understand the distinction between milk and water, Atma and Anatma. What layer is capable of the awareness of Viveka?
It's a great question, right? So which Jiva is the one that is going to become, so when I am enlightened, to use a colloquial term, enlightened, so to speak, will I be enlightened when I'm sleeping? The funny thing is, the answer applies to the jiva who asks the question. The one who says, I am dukhi. Are you saying I am dukhi when you are in deep sleep? No. Are you saying I am dukhi when you are dreaming? Not quite. You may have a dream specific to which you are dukhi, and it may be a nightmare and it may wake you up. But it's the jiva who wakes up who says, I am dukhi, I am finite, I am constrained, I am limited. That jiva obtains in the waking world. That jiva makes his appearance. It's the ahankara that makes its appearance. We'll talk a little bit about the ahankara and how it makes an appearance. But the one who made the conclusion, the incorrect conclusion, is the only one who needs to be explained that this conclusion was incorrect. The medicine applies to the person who is sick. The one who says, excuse me, I have a problem. That's the individual who needs to understand Viveka. The person, when I'm in a state of deep sleep, I have resolved back into the state of being a jiva. There is no sense of limitation. There is no freedom that I desire. Who has gone into a state of deep sleep and said, I desire freedom from this state of? Nobody. Everybody will say, go away. I'm enjoying deep sleep here. Don't free me from this. This is good. I want to be in a state of deep sleep. So the person who identifies with dukkha is the person to whom Viveka is needed. Vivekachudamani is for that waking jiva who has made the conclusion that I am limited, I am insignificant, I am useless. I do not understand the nature of this jagat, I do not understand the nature of this jiva, this all seems pointless to me. To that person, Vivekachudamani will talk.
So samadhi and deep sleep are the same thing?
That's a great question. What a great question. Is samadhi and deep sleep the same thing? So samadhi, I'll just explain very quickly. Samadhi means absorption. Absorption is what samadhi means. And you can have absorption in an object. It's very common. You'll be listening to your favorite music and you won't remember who you are, where you are. And your friend will tap you on the shoulder and you'll have a shock. You'll say, I'm sorry, I was lost. Who was lost? Because your ears were functioning, correct? Your Sthula Sharira was working. You were enjoying the music, your Sukshma Sharira was working. The Jiva was enjoying himself. Who was lost? There was a person who disappeared. The person was the Dukhi person who disappeared. That person disappeared. And that's why you said, I had so much fun. It was such a great experience. Why? Because that Dukhi Atma was not there. And that's why human beings laugh. Because if I tell you a joke, for that one instant in time, all the dukkha's that you're carrying around, you drop all the bags for a second and you start laughing. I can make, or not me, but even a person with a terminal illness who knows what is happening tomorrow, you show them something funny that tickles their sense of humor and they'll laugh. Now, sometimes you're like I said, I don't want to make trivial out of, emotions are very powerful. When you're in the middle of an emotional experience, that doesn't apply. But if I catch you off guards, say the right joke. That's why people like hanging out with people who are humorous, because they make you drop your worries for a second. Who is lost? Who is lost? I want to know who is lost. That person, that Dukhi Atma who said that I am insignificant, that person is lost. And that person is the Ahankara that we'll talk about a little bit later. So, Samadhi means absorption, and absorption can occur in an object in your waking state, and it's accidental right now. You can make it more purposeful by practicing meditations and doing a certain type of contemplations. There are certain contemplations that will be easy will make your mind more amenable to absorption in an object that you're contemplating upon. Because the idea of contemplation is that there is an object. But when that contemplation shifts over to the subject themselves, when you're looking at your own mental mindscape, maybe you're doing a vipassana meditation, or you're doing some other type of meditation where you focus on your own senses or you focus on your own mind, and so to speak, there may be a different kind of absorption. And there is a nirvikalpika samadhi where the absorption is not in a specific object. It's a nirvikalpa. It's not in the absorption is not in the object. All the objects are dropped, and the jiva is still there. And yes, it is similar to a state of deep sleep. and it's different at the same time because the jiva is awake. It's not gone off to sleep. They're awake. The difference between the two states, in both there are no objects. The objects are completely gone. One is awareful, the other is unawares. But yeah, and there's more to be said on that topic, but I won't go into it. Samadhi is, savikalpika samadhi is absorption in a particular object. Nirvikalpika samadhi is a little bit different than that.
So Sthula Sharir is the one that decides the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, right? Or some
You mean recognizes it or not decides? Recognizes.
recognizes. So we say that different people have different amounts of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas.
Oh, you're talking about it in a different context. Yes.
So
I'm sorry, I
does
understand.
that change? Like suppose someone has more of Sattva and less of Rajas and Tamas. Someone has more of Tamas. So does that change the components of Sthula Sharira?
So I'm gonna, so to explain the question, I've heard the question before. It's a different context in a different model. So the question actually does not apply to our discussion topic right now, because what you're asking is about the swabhava of an individual. Yeah, the swabhava or the personality or the nature of the person. And in that context, the word sattva, rajas, and tamas mean something else. And in this context, they don't apply. When you say that a certain jiva has more sattva aspects to their antakarana, it means that they have a contemplative mind. They have a mind that is amenable and desirous of contemplation. They would like to sit and think about things. They are generally more interested in in hearing ideas, understanding them, contemplating them. That makes them happy. That's their swabhava. When you refer to rajas in that context, the swabhava is of a person is they're very energetic. They want to act. They want to make sure that whatever are their goals that they have set out for themselves, they will make sure to pursue them and make sure that they accomplish them. Passionate about it that way. And the third swabhava that you referred to is where the person is more interested in whatever their likes and dislikes are. So whatever I like today, I want to pursue it. Whatever I dislike, I don't want to pursue. As you can imagine, in all three, passion is important. Whether you are being contemplative, you're contemplative with a passion, right? Otherwise, you cannot be contemplative. And you'll contemplate things that you like. It's not like you're going to start contemplating things that you don't like. You will contemplate things that, for example, if you are a musician who plays music, you will contemplate a lot about music. And you'll have a contemplative personality, but you won't be contemplating football plays. So all three are mixed all the time. And that's a different model. That's a model of swabhava.
So what does it mean in this model?
In this model, in the Panch Mahabhuta model, I have not activated it right now. So we'll talk about it. Okay. I think we should take we've had a really good discussion, and this discussion will continue because now we've started the topic of the teaching. The next one is Sukshma Shariram, Ahuhu. Then I will talk about Sukshma Sharira for a few verses. We'll talk about the dream state. And then he'll get into, he'll talk a little bit about Maya. We'll have a good time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.